morning, Minneapolis. This is Cedric Williams talking to you live. Today is May 29th, 2021. The mayor just lifted the mask restriction for the pandemic. But today I'm going to talk about the lady of my life, my soulmate, my wife, and how we met. We're going to go back a long ways. Met her back in 1986, officially. I always knew her from church, But when I met her for the second time, we really met at the candy shop. Yeah, it was how sweet it was, and how sweet it still is. Yeah, we do a lot of things together. We don't do too many things apart. But like I said, I was 16 years old, and she was basically working in the studio, much like this, for a community action agency. And I don't know if I want to tell it all, but I wasn't a nice boy. I did little mannish things, and I think I smacked her somewhere on her body. I wouldn't say where, but she wasn't scared. She came back, and she looked at me in my eye and didn't say nothing, but she sent her friend back, and her friend gave me her phone number. But to back up now, we knew each other from church too. But I was 16 years old. I wasn't trying to do nothing serious. And my uncle, Ray Robinson, we call him Buckwheat. Now we call him Big Bucks. He took me back to the radio station to get me a job, and I actually seen her. And I told my uncle, I said, hey, that girl likes me. He said, she likes you? I said, yeah, she likes me. He said, well, talk to her. And I went to talk to her, and she asked me why I didn't call her. And I lied, and I said I called her. She said, what's my number? I'm like, I don't know. She gave me her number and told me I better call her tonight. And this is the beginning of a long story, but it was so sweet. I ended up calling her that night, and her brother answered the phone. And he said, who is this? I said, it's Cedric. Is Lisa there? He said, is you Lisa's boyfriend? I said, is that what she said? He said, yeah. He said, Lisa's boyfriend on the phone. And that was my first girlfriend. And now she's my wife. Yeah, just like that. Some things do have happy endings. We ended up having 4 children. They all took my first part of my name. My oldest daughter, Celia. My next oldest daughter is oh no, I get it wrong all the time. Sorry. Sierra. My baby daughter, Cedria. And then I got a junior, Cedric Jr. They're all grown now. Empty nest is just me and my wife now, Lisa Williams. We always have fun. She keeps me in check all the time. But she's here today. She's sitting right over to the left of me. She's listening. She's smiling. I know how to make her cry. In good times and in bad times. I'd rather be for good times. We actually got some people up here from Peoria, Illinois. Sadhu. And my sister-in-law, Lynette. It's funny because we went to the Mall of America today. They walked around like teenagers. I remember I used to feel like a teenager. But I see these guys, they still got that teenager look on their face. I wish we could pan around, but it's on me today. But it's all good. So we're up here in Minnesota right now, just having fun, enjoying ourselves. This is a great place to visit. Everybody should try summer Minnesota in the summer. And if you're barbaric, try summer Minnesota in the winter. But any way you try it, try it. So back to my wife. So we end up meeting. We moved to Minnesota in 1991 with just my oldest daughter. She was 1 year old, and a 1977 Buick LeSabre. I had to have room for my rims, so I couldn't take much. And moved in with my uncle. We was there for about a month. Things happened. People got raided downstairs, and we ended up moving right downstairs from Uncle. my cousin Mona. Stayed there for a few years, but where I come from, rent was real cheap, and I wasn't used to paying rent. I come straight from my grandma's house to my sister's house. Oh, look at her. I ain't even got to the good part. She's already crying. But went straight from them to coming up here, and this woman you just saw, I fed her first piece of steak at the age of 16. Yeah, I fed her first steak. She was used to eating kid food, corn dogs, hot dogs, hamburgers. And funny thing about it, it wasn't my steak I fed her. It was my sister's steak. I didn't see nothing wrong with it. I just wanted her to be happy. My mom passed when I was 11, and after that, I was more of a caregiver. So I always took care of the house, cooking, cleaning, or whatever. And my sister, she had no problem with me bringing my girlfriend to her house. And I remember it was a ribeye steak. I made some potatoes and things like that. And she sat down and she ate it. And she said it was delicious. I'm 16. I'm like, I thought everybody could cook, so I didn't think nothing of it. And it was just a good thing. But to fast forward, when I started having kids, and I remember my middle daughter was cooking a steak for her boyfriend in my kitchen. I didn't take that too well. I called my big sister Darlene up. I said, Dar, you remember you used to let me cook your steaks for Lisa? She said, yeah. I said, how did you let me do that? I said, my baby cooking a steak for her man in my house, it don't feel too good. My sister said, it's only food. And I looked at it, I said, wow, it's only food. And my grandma taught me to feed anybody, even a dog can get fed. So a lot of things that goes on, I just let it not affect me in different ways. So when I deal with my wife, children, anybody I deal with, I always look at the lighter side. I think one of my biggest assets and one of my curses is the same. I'm very sarcastic, so you can't really tell if I'm serious or if I'm playing. But 99% of the time, I'm probably serious because I don't know how to play too well. I didn't have much to play with growing up, But back to my wife right here, Lisa. We've been through a lot. We definitely have. We made it through a lot. We've done a lot, but I've always taken my children and my wife everywhere with me. I don't do too much by myself. I don't do too much alone. She's such a caregiver now. She's got the grandkids a lot, so when my son comes back in town from college, I like to do a lot with my son. She feels left out a little bit, but I always come right back home to Mama every night. And we always sit down and eat together. And before we lay down to go to bed, we always get on our knees and we pray together. So one thing you need to know that wealth is health. And the people that you're around, cherish them. You don't know how long you will be around or they'll be around. So always let people know how you feel while they're around. So I want you to know, Lisa, I love you with all my heart, with all my might. I love you harder than you ever know. So when I get on your nerves sometime, or you see me sitting down and being quiet, I'm quiet sometimes because I don't want you to worry about some of the things I worry about. Sometimes I don't tell you everything because I feel like you might not be able to handle it, but you know what? I'm going to change them kind of things. I'll let you know what's on my mind more. I'll talk to you more about what's going on with me because you deserve that. You really deserve everything that I got to offer you. And I just appreciate all the things you have done for me throughout the years and putting up with all my shenanigans. We like water and oil, but if you stir it up good enough. It will mix a little bit. But I really appreciate everything you've done for me and just keeping our family together. And I couldn't ask for a better wife. So this is my wife right here, the woman of my life. Give my hug, baby. I love you.
I love you too.
So now I just want to thank my good kin folks that I just met today for letting me express a little bit of how I feel. So you know just a little tiny bit of Cedric Williams, the son of Manuel Williams and Shelley Mae Williams. Thank you, people, very much. I appreciate you for listening. Let me wet my whistle. I don't know if we're still on air. Oh, okay. I should have. Okay, thanks. Was that it?
Say nothing?
He didn't ask me to say anything. He did all the talking. I didn't need to say nothing.
Okay. Thanks for coming back. Right now, I did all the talking, which I usually do, but I want to hear Lisa say some words. She's a woman of little words, but they're very powerful. They impact. So, Lisa, can you introduce yourself?
I'm the wife of Cedric Williams. My mother is Sharon Smith, and I'm from Peoria, Illinois. I live here in Minneapolis with Cedric, which you know now is my husband. I have one sister, Lynette Tinsley, and 3 brothers, Larry, Leonard, and Lonnie, all of Peoria. I am the grandmother of 6 grandchildren: Giselle Williams, J. Marie Williams, Jaleel Williams, Riley Rose Currington, and Chanel Williams. A year ago, I was a school teacher, and now I'm not a school teacher anymore. I'm just at home with the grandbabies. I don't do much. And I'm a graphic designer. Haven't been doing much in that field lately, but I don't know. I don't have too much to say.
Well, you just let people know who you are. I'm going to roll back time when my life basically changed forever. It'll be the morning of December 5th, 1981. That's when I found my mom dead or not breathing at the age of 11. I called the 911 and they took her to the hospital, and that was the last time I saw my mom alive. So we ended up moving in with my grandmother, and my grandmother's old school from Mobile, Alabama. And at the age of 11, my older sister Darlene was 16. My sister under me, Stephanie Williams, she's 2 years under me, so she'd have been 9. And I got a little sister, baby sister, Vivian King. She's only 3 years old when my mom passed. So with that, my grandmother took us in, and she took care of us the best she could. At that age, my grandma was in her late 50s. So going back, I'm 50 now, so it seemed like she was old, but I don't feel old, so we won't let that bother anybody. But at that time, she was a Pentecostal. We're real strict, real strict. So it was just church, church, church. It wasn't nothing else but church. And anything you did was a sin, even playing sports. Watching TV was a sin. So I didn't want to go to hell. I didn't want to be a heathen. So a lot of stuff I didn't do, watch TV and things like that. And just going through the times. But when I turned 14, I ended up getting into sports. And when I found out the first time I got to grab a football and I was scared I might go to hell, I woke up the next day and I wasn't dead. And I mean, this is serious. I woke up the next day and I wasn't dead, so I continued playing sports. But I always made sure home was taken care of. I would cook for the whole house, make sure everything was done, the washing, cooking, cleaning. And I'm talking about we had grown people living in the house. And everybody would basically wait for me to get home from school to cook and clean. My grandma had me to a point so trained, I'm going to say trained, right? Because you can train anybody. She trained me. I would cook the food, take it to her door, open up her door, put it beside her bed, close the door, bang on the door so she can wake up and eat, so I wouldn't have to really talk to her. Then I can go ahead and play my game, Pac-Man or whatever I want to. I love, Pac-Man at that time. 81, that's Pac-Man was good. And going forward, so my just dealing with family life and things like that. But all that time, I knew who my grandma was, but it wasn't until my grandma passed. It wasn't until my grandma passed, about 3 years ago, and I looked into the casket, and I looked down and I saw my grandma, and that's when I realized that was my mama. That was my mama. She taught me everything. She taught me all the skills I needed as a child and as a man. I'm talking about cook, clean, wash, how to save money, things like that. I got all that from my grandma, and I looked in the casket and I was like, wow, that's my mama. And it's just funny how things happen. And I was at a eulogy one time for Dwayne Smith. Dad had passed. And the pastor was talking about he had been doing eulogies for over 20 years. 20 years. And he said he would always start out the same. I know that you loved him or you loved her. And he was always saying, well, God loved him better, and that's why God took him. And he said he used that same phrase for over 20 years. And then he said when he sat down and his wife got sick and he watched her die, and he couldn't do nothing about it, she died from cancer. And one of the pastors came to him and said, brother, I knew you loved your wife, but God loved her more. He said at that time he almost blew his, he went off. And he didn't want to hear that at that time. He said, but that changed his life. And when he do eulogies now, I recorded this guy. He said he never tell people that God loved them better. He always tell them now that when God takes someone from you, he puts somebody in your life to fill that void. It's on you to figure it out. So a lot of times when we lose somebody and we think we can't live without them, God has already put somebody in that void or in that spot or in that empty space. So we will always be able to live on. It's up to us to figure out who that person is and pray to God and be a believer. We already know that we are here to live, but we also here to one day pass on. And all we can do is get right with God. Get right. We have so many killings right now in Minneapolis. So many innocent people are dying day by day. God has blessed us in the Robinson and Williams family that we haven't had any gun violence that affected us or infected us, but it's all around us. So we pray, and we pray for the people of Minneapolis and all over the world that we will see the light one day. So that's about it. You know, just a brief bio of me and my life, my wife, my children. And I just want to thank the good brothers over here at the Tempo Afric TV that let us sit here and tell everybody who we are today up here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you, Lisa Williams, for sitting beside me, as you always are beside me, whether it's in the bed or in the car, on the boat, on the plane, riding shotgun. This is my main girl right here. Thank you, people, for listening once again. Take care.